Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Code Man Movies. Final day of the 2022 year. I have final couple videos coming out today. I already had my top 10 best movies of the year, in my opinion, up at earlier this morning. It came up. And now I have two final videos I'm going to do here. This one just talking about the movies that I've watched in the last few days of 2022. And then we are going to just have a little special video where I just, talk a little bit. So yeah, guys, this will be my final talking of movies that I have seen this year until 2023, I guess, which, so far away, as in tomorrow. So yeah, guys, let's, for our final time this year, well, maybe not our final time because I have one more video, but grab your alcoholic beverage. Today I'm going to do an Amaretto Coke. I'm just trying to finish up my alcohol before I move, so. It's delicious, it's nutritious. I also need the caffeine for today because it's New Year's Eve and I'm working at a bar. Ugh, shit. But anyways, guys, without further ado, hold on. Once again, I forgot my iPad. I seem to always forget it because, well, I don't know. It's the thing that helps me do notes. Also, the last few videos, I really haven't needed this because I haven't really needed notes. It's just talking about my favorite movies of the year. So yeah, grab my iPad. Let's get this up and going. And let's get going talking about movies that I've seen since my last episode where I talked about the movies I have seen during the week. First one being Puss in Boots. I watched this to prepare for the new Puss in Boots, which I still have not yet seen. I'm hearing it's really good, like the best animated movie of the year, possibly the best Shrek of the year, or best Shrek ever. So yeah, I really can't wait to see Puss in Boots 2. But let's talk about Puss in Boots 1 first. The animation of this movie is absolutely incredible. I love the character of Puss in Boots ever since we saw him in Shrek 2. This movie is filled with like movie references and just, the fairy tale creature kind of thing that happens like with other Shrek movies. That is also wonderful and enjoyable. I'm not a cat person, but this movie makes me really want to get a cat. And I won't. I don't want a cat. I really don't. I just don't want one. I prefer dogs. I'm getting a dog. I've always loved the other Shrek movies, and I love the idea that it brings in fairy tale creatures and such like that. And this movie does the same for me in a sense. But at the same time, there's a character of Humpty Dumpty in this movie, and he's kind of like the big supporting character in the movie. And his character arcs are kind of predictable, and he's kind of just nonsense. And he's voiced by Zach Galifianakis, so it's not super big of a surprise, I guess, in a sense. But at the same time, his character doesn't really work for me as a character. I don't think he's really that well written. He gets a little cliche and just very predictable by the end of the movie. And I just didn't love his character in a sense. And I didn't necessarily buy his relationship to Puss in Boots. Going into this movie, you don't think that Puss in Boots, out of all the characters in Shrek, would need a backstory, but you realize, you know what, it kind of does work for this character. He's such an interesting character. Antonio Banderas does such a great job of voicing Puss. All the voice acting in this movie is actually really good. As much as I did enjoy this movie, I think it is a good movie. It's a good kids movie. It's kind of forgettable. I'm already kind of forgetting elements of this movie. Having seen it only, 4 days ago? 3-4 days ago? It hasn't even been that long. And I just kind of already forgetting what actually happened, what actually the plot is. It's something with magic beans. Magic beans. He's got to make his mother proud. I don't know, something like that. So yeah, the story itself, I think, is a little weak. Just we've seen it 100 times before, but the movie itself is good. It's enjoyable. Not one that I want to rewatch all the time. It's not better than Shrek or Shrek 2. It's better than Shrek the Third and Shrek 4. I don't think that's saying much, but yeah, it's an enjoyable movie, guys. If you have not seen the first Puss in Boots, maybe watch it before heading out to see Puss in Boots. What is it, The Last Wish? I think The Last Wish. I'll give this like a 7 out of 10. It's enjoyable. a little predictable, a little cliche at times, a little cheesy, but it's a kid's movie, so you gotta let it go. Next up is I Want to Dance with Somebody. I remember seeing the trailers in the last few months here of this movie and just thought it looked really cheesy and cliche. It also said from the writer of Bohemian Rhapsody, which was not a good sign in my opinion. I did not think the writing of Bohemian Rhapsody was particularly that great. I thought the movie was just a big lie. Nothing in the movie actually happens the way it does, and it just drove me nuts. So I was hesitant with this movie. The movie is very low on the tomato meter. It's at like 44%. And if Bohemian Rhapsody is going to be a movie that is fresh, this movie can be fresh. I do not understand why the tomato meter is so low on this one. I really do not. Like I said, it's the same writer as Bohemian Rhapsody, so it has that same kind of feel, really. This movie does feel a little more honest, though, than Bohemian Rhapsody was. Bohemian Rhapsody is just a big lie. This movie is not a lie. And Bohemian Rhapsody is a movie that I think if Freddie Mercury were alive and saw that movie, he'd go, that movie's a bunch of bullshit. That is not my life. I think if Whitney Houston was alive, she would go, you know, that movie's not the most accurate portrayal of my life, but it is accurate. And that, for me, makes this movie a little bit even better than Bohemian Rhapsody. I will say this movie is very quick-paced. Just, you know, in one scene, Whitney would be like, I had a miscarriage. 5 minutes later, she's pregnant. 5 minutes after that, she's giving birth to her baby. 5 minutes after that, her child's now 16. The movie just puts in all this stuff at once, and it is going at breakneck speed. It's what's the word I want to say? It's exhausting, I will say that. It is shocking in the sense that it's just like, okay, where are we at in time here? The movie is produced by Clive Davis, who is her not her manager necessarily, her record label manager person. So it does feel slightly watered down, and he seems like an absolute hero in this movie. I don't know if that's how it actually went down. It doesn't seem like it really did go down that way. Acting is really good. The movie is very predictable, same as Bohemian Rhapsody. Cheesy, the same way as Bohemian Rhapsody. This movie also does something similar to what Bohemian Rhapsody did, in the sense that when you hear the musical numbers, you hear almost the full song. So this movie's 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I would say almost a half hour, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour of this movie is just recreating the music videos, recreating the stage performances, and it's just a music video, really, is what almost half this movie is. So as far as the story goes, it's just intertwined with music videos. But it does, when you watch this movie too, same thing with Bohemian Rhapsody, it seems like you love the music aspect of it more than the story aspect. Everyone talks about the end of Bohemian Rhapsody with the Live Aid concert. And I feel like that's really all anyone talks about. They're not talking about how they're at the shack, you know, making Bohemian Rhapsody. They're talking about that end concert. And that's similar with this movie, is where I feel like everyone's going to be talking more about the music video parts of this and not the actual story. I knew not as much about Whitney Houston. I knew a little bit, I knew enough. So I did learn some stuff through this movie, stuff that I did go on to do research for to see if it was accurate, and it was. So I didn't hate this movie. I don't understand why this is so low. I really don't. I don't understand the hate for this one at all. It's fine. Is it anything spectacular? No. But it does go through the motions and giving you Whitney's life and showing you everything that happened with Whitney's life and just showing how tragic and sad of a life she had. So yeah, that's, I guess, really all I have to say about this one. There's nothing in this movie particular that just makes it so bad. There's nothing in this movie that makes it super good. Performances are good. It's cheesy. It's predictable. It's a biopic. What do we expect, you know? So I'll give this one a 7 out of 10. It's good. It's good. Am I going to be rewatching this one? No. But I have not rewatched Bohemian Rhapsody all that much in my time since 2018. So same kind of thing for that, in my opinion. Next up, guys, Violent Night. I went and saw Violent Night for a second time. So we're going to talk spoilers for this one this time around. If you've not seen Violent Night, fast forward over. I'm going to have my time codes in my description. So check out those time codes. Move on to the next review. Violent Night. Right from the start with this movie, guys, David Harbour's character was fantastic. I love him in the bar and just the things he's saying. You know, do you work tonight? Well, I'm on a break. And then going up to the roof and puking all over the woman. Hilarious from the start. Right from the start, though, as well with the other characters, you realize there's no one good in this movie besides the daughter and kind of the mother. Everyone else is just so horrible. The mother, played by Beverly D'Angelo, the rest of the family, the girl's dad, everyone is terrible. So it's hard to latch on to a lot of characters in this movie, but David Harbour is the main character, and from the minute I see him, I just loved him. John Leguizamo is clearly having a blast with this movie, and I love it. I love how much fun you can tell he's having in this movie, and he is so fun in this movie, and I love that he calls himself Mr. Scrooge. It's just so perfect. He has that stupid scene where he's talking about why he hates Christmas, and that was just too much. Get rid of that scene, and I think I would have liked this movie a little bit more. Like, he just wants money. He needs money. He's stealing from the rich. You could have had a little brief backstory saying he was poor, and he just wants to steal from the rich. That would have been enough. So that one scene just drove me nuts. But he's having a great year as well with The Menu, because he does great in The Menu as well. I'm not really a fan of how Santa and the little girl communicate. She's got that game, the board game, walkie-talkie kind of thing from the board games. And then he's got this really nice walkie-talkie that he steals from the bad guys. I didn't buy that, but you know, plot convenience to make the plot move forward. I was okay with it, but it kind of annoyed me just seeing like how they somehow get in communication. The chemistry between David Harbour and the little girl through the walkie-talkie, though, is great. Like, you totally buy that this girl totally believes she's talking to Santa, even though she just got told Santa's not real, in a sense. David Harbour, you can understand why he wants to kind of help this girl. She's just this little girl that is got such a pure heart and dealing with people that do not have pure hearts. So you just completely buy that, and I love that aspect. I love when this movie kind of turns into John Wick. People are saying this movie is Home Alone mixed with Die Hard, and I totally agree with that, but add in some John Wick, because holy crap, these deaths get violent as hell and over the top as hell. Oh, I'm thirsty today. Yeah. I mean, just all the deaths are so much fun in this movie. Particularly John Leguizamo's, when he is brought into the chimney and he just explodes. Just incredible. I mean, it's so violent, over the top, and every time you just start laughing. And then all the Home Alone things the little girl does too, with the nail and the slipper, the sticky floor, and the bowling balls. It's perfect. Where am I at? The ending, I do not love. The whole, I believe in Santa, he's going to come back to life. That's kind of stupid. I will say, though, I love every time Santa is talking about Christmas magic, and he's like, I don't really understand it. Just go with it. I love that. I love that even Santa doesn't understand it. It is cheesy and totally plot convenience, but it works. And I love the backstory we also get from Santa, too, that he was like this Norse god almost. And I love that that's who became Santa. It doesn't explain like how he just kind of became Santa, but it didn't matter to me. I thoroughly enjoyed this little backstory that we had. So such a fun and interesting backstory with Santa. And yeah, that's about really all I have to talk about with this one. The twist where the son stole the money, you totally saw that coming and such like that. But yeah, guys, this movie, I love a movie that knows what it is and it's not trying to be anything else. This movie is trying to be a dark comedy that is very violent, and that's about it. The story's kind of put on the back burner, but it doesn't necessarily need to have a story. It knows it doesn't need to have a story. Excuse me. It's just setting off to be this fun, ridiculous, over-the-top, violent movie, and it achieved that. So this, for me, is one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. I really did enjoy this movie. I did not put this movie in my top 10. If I did a top 20, it would be in my top 20. I really enjoyed this movie. I had such a blast, such a ball. It's so simple, but I loved it. And I would go see it a few more times in theaters. We don't have a lot of movies coming to theaters right now. For a while, it seems like. Nothing big anyway. So I might go see this one even a couple more times because I just had so much fun with this one. So yeah, guys, that is Violent Night. Talking a little bit of spoilers, that really was to spoil. Next up, guys, Mad Max Fury Road. It was my week to choose what movie to see, and the category is Wild Card. And I was at work on Christmas Eve when I was told that I was selected. And I didn't see the message till about 5 hours later. So everyone in my film group is going, are you going to pick Cody? Cody, you going to pick? Cody, pick. And I see this as I'm outside getting in my car after work, and I'm going, Wild Card. I can pick anything I want. And I'm standing there going, I'm cold as hell. It was like -13, -20, whatever the heck it was. And I went, I need a movie that makes me feel warm. First movie that came in my head, Mad Max Fury Road. Out in the desert. Balls to the wall madness. So I chose Mad Max Fury Road. I love this movie so much, guys. I saw this movie 15 times in theaters when it was in theaters back in May of 2015. I just love this movie so much. I love everything about it. The action is so great in this film. Everything is very practical for the most part in this movie. Yes, there's special effects, especially with the sandstorm and such like that, but everything for the most part in the action sequence sections are just practical. And I love that this movie is essentially just a car chase. It's from Citadel to the desert, sand dunes, all the way back to the Citadel, and it's amazing. It's just so amazing. I love how little spoken words there are, and yet we still get so much. There's not a lot of character backstory as far as Max goes, as far as Furiosa goes, or even Nux. But you get enough to understand how tragic of a backstory they have, how much they have been through, how they are just fighting every day to stay alive. And it's just the right amount. It's just perfect, the amount we get. I love how rich these characters feel, even though we don't get much from them, really, at the end of the day. Again, like I said, the amount of practical is so great. This movie, George Miller wanted it to be in black and white, black and chrome, he called it. There's the black and chrome edition. It looks beautiful in black and white. I have seen it. Personally, though, I love the colors in this movie. I love the look of the desert and the red. I love the browns and the tans and the reds and the oranges and the yellows and the blue. One of my favorite posters of all time is this poster right here. I love this poster so much. I remember seeing this in 3D. This is a movie that looked great in 3D. The action just came out right at you, and it was wonderful. And by the end of this movie, I knew some people in my film group that hadn't seen it before weren't going to like it. And I knew people that hadn't seen it before in my film group were going to like it. And what I said by the end of watching this with my film group was just that even if you don't like this movie does something by the end of the movie. It's so simple, but it has such an amazing message in it. A message of hope, a message of moving forward, a message of light beyond a dark day, essentially. Just so much. A reason to fight, a reason to just, it's such a hopeful movie at the end of the day. And what I said to my film group is just that even if you didn't like this movie, I hope that this gives you some hope for 2023 if 2022 wasn't the best. Or, you know, I hope that whatever your dreams are, in 2023 you can work towards them or even achieve them like I'm doing. Watching this movie really showed me just how much of an amazing January I'm going to have here, since I'm finally doing what I've wanted to do my entire life and get the hell out of the snow. I'm just so very excited, and this movie just, I love this movie so much. I love Mad Max Fury Road. This movie also has just one of the greatest opening ever. Like, before the even title card comes on, there's a car chase, there is a running chase, there is branding, there's jumping, there's so much in this opening sequence before the title card even comes, and it's got to be one of the best ever. I love this movie so much, guys. I love all the characters. I love the villain, and Morton Joe is so creepy and cool and just strange. Doof Warrior on the frickin' thing playing guitar with the flames. It's so badass. There's a frickin' fight in this movie with a flaming guitar on a moving vehicle. How cool is that? This movie is just balls to the wall awesome, and I cannot wait for the Furiosa movie. I hope George Miller has time to make a few more of these Mad Max movies because they are so incredible. I think he's in his 80s though, so I just can't believe this man has the energy for this kind of movie. It's just insane. This movie for me, guys, is just perfect. It is a 10 out of 10. I love this movie so much. I think this is one of the greatest movies of all time. I think this is definitely one of the best movies in the last 10 years. Just such a phenomenal movie. If you haven't seen Mad Max Fury Road, it's weird, for sure. And if you don't like the weirdness of it, I can understand it. But the message by the end is really, really what I think should get you when you're watching this movie. Oh boy, here's a movie we're going to talk about, guys. Babylon. I was really excited for this movie. It is the director of La La Land and Whiplash, two movies I absolutely love. Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Tobey Maguire was announced. Then it got closer to the release date of the movie, and I was hearing horrible things about it. And then I went and saw it. What the hell is this movie, guys? What the actual hell? This movie is so all over the place, and I don't know what it's trying to do. The first half hour of this movie is this. It's just an orgy party. It's showing everybody with clothes. In this scene, no one's really wearing clothes. Everyone is just screwing each other and peeing on each other and riding pogo sticks that look like a penis. It's so bad. The acting is great, but it's just in a movie that makes no sense, and it's all over the place. The second part of this movie is Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt acting in old Hollywood movies, and then it goes into this weird plot by the end with gambling addiction and such like that. This movie just doesn't know what it wants to be. I don't know what it is. Tobey Maguire's cameo. If you are going in this movie for Tobey Maguire, he's not in the movie much. He's in it for like maybe 10 minutes. And his scene is completely pointless. So over the top and ridiculous. I just don't know what he was going for, what Damien Chazelle was going for with this. It's also so freaking long. It is 3 hours and 10 minutes, 9 minutes, something like that. There's no reason for this movie to be that long. There's no point to this movie being that long. It just doesn't need to be that way. There are some interesting scenes of like filming movies in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s that are interesting, but it's just surrounded by a movie that doesn't make any sense, and I could not stand this movie. I'm going to go into spoilers next with this one because I just need to talk about this one, and at the end of the day, you do not need to see this movie. However, if you do not want spoilers, that is the end of my non-spoilery thoughts for this one. I'll give this movie a 3 out of 10. It does look good. Technically, it's great. The acting is great. And there are some really cool scenes of, like, making movies back in the olden golden days of Hollywood. That's about all I have for you. Now we are going into spoilers with this one, because boy, do I have some things to say that are very spoilery. First of all, the first 5 minutes of this movie, an elephant shits on a person. And it's point of view camera, so we are watching this shit fly onto us. What the fudge? Then 10 minutes in the movie, a woman pees on a man during this big old orgy sex party, which is insane and stupid. And it felt like it was trying to be edgy, like Wolf of Wall Street, but it's just not. Like I said, there's some really interesting scenes of making movies. The scene where Margot Robbie is doing her first movie, where she's on the bar and she has to cry just right away, right on cue, is a great scene. The scene where she's doing the scene 10 times over with the sound and yada, 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 that is a great scene. Brad Pitt being this drunk, and then all of a sudden he's just, boom, in character, ready to go to film his scene. All great. Then that halfway point where they're at the party, and what's with the rattlesnake thing? What is the point of this? To show that Margot Robbie's character's insane? I just didn't see the point of it. Yes, there are moments in this movie that make me laugh. One of those scenes being the rattlesnake scene. But what was the point of it all? It just didn't really connect and have any focus, in my opinion. Toby was so over the top and ridiculous. Was he high when he made this? He certainly looks high, but I think that's the point. And then just what was that scene? What does that have to do with the rest of the movie, really? So that they can go get money for Margot Robbie's character? But it just, I don't know. This movie was so infuriating. And I do not understand how... Excuse me again. I do not understand how this movie was written and directed by the same man who does La La Land and Whiplash. 2 solid movies. 2 movies that feel like there is no stuffing in their runtime. Like, I just don't get what the hell this was. And then the final ending scene where they're flashing movies. Why is Avatar in a movie that takes place in the 30s, 40s, 50s? Why is Matrix in a movie? And I understand what they're going for. Oh, cinema, it's beautiful, it's lovely. Look at hundreds of years of cinema. But this movie takes place in the 50s, not 2020. It made no sense at all whatsoever. What an awful movie, guys. This movie didn't make it in my top 10 worst of the year. It would be in my top 20 worst of the year. This movie is so bad. It is so unbearably bad. I just cannot believe that Damien Chazelle is the one that made this. Movie bombed at the box office big time. I was talking to people at the theater I go to, and they were saying how people are walking out within the first 30 minutes because of just the scenes. A lot of older people have been going to this movie expecting it to be a movie about classic Hollywood and not orgies and, weird Tobey Maguire scenes. The scene with Margot Robbie and her mother, I think that was her mother. I don't even know if that was explained. But this movie's just so all over the place, and I could not stand this movie. Just talking about this movie makes me want to fall asleep. It's so bad. So bad. I need more caffeine. I am that tired today, guys. I apologize. This movie, I cannot believe this movie. I cannot believe this movie exists. I can't believe Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt signed up for this one, honestly. It's just, did they read a script? Good God, this movie sucks. Emily the Criminal, guys, this is a movie that some people were talking about being one that I needed to see before the end of 2022. I was trying to see other movies like The Whale. It's just not playing anywhere near me. It's not on streaming anywhere. Yeah, the Triangle of Sadness, I wanted to see that. Just a lot of movies I wanted to see and I didn't get to see. But Emily in Paris was one I was able to see. And what an interesting movie this is. It's a very simple movie in a sense, about a woman who's trying to pay the bills, get by in life, struggling to find work, and eventually has to start becoming a criminal to make ends meet because she has no other choice. It feels like she has no other choice. And this woman, seems like she has such good character in her. And she doesn't want to be a criminal. She's a good person. But she has to do what she has to do to pay the bills. And to see where she starts as a character and then goes down, her descent into full criminal is insane. Aubrey Plaza does such a great job in this performance. It really is a great story, really great acting. It's pretty much Aubrey Plaza in this movie for the most part. Yes, there's side characters, but they're really nothing. Aubrey Plaza's character is the character that matters in this one. And she does such a great job. And what I just really liked about this one is kind of just a character piece of someone starting as such a good person and going down that tunnel of becoming a criminal. And that's really all I want to say about this one. There's not a lot I want to say about this one. There's some written words that are said in this movie that are a little weird. Certain aspects of the movie that are kind of out there and such like that. But for the most part, this is just a really solid movie. And I don't want to say too much about this one. I think you should go into this one as cold and blind as you can. And just really grasp into this one. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. It is a really good movie. And if you've not checked it out, I believe I watched this one on Netflix. I could be wrong. But really solid movie. Check this out. It might even make your end of the year list. I don't know. It got top 20. Top 20, I would put this in there. It's such a solid, good little thriller. And I really enjoyed it. Okay, guys. My favorite movie of the year. I had to watch it one more time before the end of the year. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Guys, I love this movie so much. It is such a solid movie. The heart in this movie is absolutely incredible. The fight choreography in this movie, incredible. The weirdness of this movie is incredible. The editing, this fast-paced, crazy editing, fantastic. I just love everything about this movie. The performances, Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Lee Curtis, those two actors' names, because I honestly don't even think I can say their names without completely butchering their names. So good. The direction from the Daniels, absolutely great. I love that this movie has so much heart. I love how funny this movie is with that heart. I just loved everything about it. I loved going to all these weird multiverses. Doctor Strange needed to watch this movie because this is what Doctor Strange kind of should have been. There's so many universes we go to. One where a raccoon is cooking dinner. One where we have hot dog fingers. One where she's a movie star. I mean, just one after the other. Just so many beautiful multiverses that we go to. And I loved every second of it. I just love how creative, unique, and balls to the wall this movie is. I love how... I just love it. And the heart that's in this movie is so great. And the messages in this movie is so great of being yourself and doing what's right and saying the right thing and helping others. And so much of this movie is so great. And I woke up this morning and decided I had to watch it. I decided this had to be my last movie of 2022. What a beautiful movie, guys. What a unique movie. What an amazing experience this movie was. I love every second of this movie. And it is my #1 movie of the year. It does get a little long at times. There are certain things that go on a bit long, but it is such a good movie. This was a year of non-perfect movies. Same as last year, I guess. Well, yeah. No, same as last year. Year before. 2019 would have been the last time we had a perfect movie in my eyes with Avengers Endgame. Just such a great, solid movie, and I love everything about it. I even love this poster. I honestly might buy an Everything Everywhere All at Once poster because I love this movie so much. I just had such a blast with this movie. So yeah, guys, I think I gave this one, what did I give this? 8 out of 10? I would go 8 out of 10 on this one. If I didn't say 8 out of 10 the last time I saw this movie, I'm going to say 8 out of 10. It is such a good, solid movie. Lastly, guys, for the last couple months here, I have been watching Shameless ever since I got back from Chicago on like November 15th. All I've been doing pretty much is watching Shameless. It's been getting in the way of me watching movies. It's been causing me to be late for work. The whole shebang. I have loved this show. A few weeks ago, I talked about seasons 1 through 6. If you want my thoughts on that, go check that out. So now we're going to talk 6 through 11, and we're going to specifically talk about that final episode. But first, we're going to kind of talk about the season overall, the last 5 seasons overall. I really continue to enjoy this show overall. I will say this, the last section, the last half of the show, it got very political. There was all the gay Jesus stuff, the racial stuff, the what's the word I'm looking for? The class stuff with rich people moving into the South Side and such like that. So I didn't like how political it really got, but I went along with it. I kind of want to just go through the end season, the rest of this show, by going through like each character, essentially. So I'm going to kind of just go through the characters and say how I felt about it, and then we'll specifically talk about everything with that last episode. So let's go youngest to oldest here in a sense. Liam. Liam is a character that he didn't talk for the first 6 seasons, really. He was a baby. So this last 5 seasons, he really got some more to do, but he was kind of the side character in a sense. But I do love that he really wanted to discover who he was. He wanted to be better than what his white family is. And again, we'll talk about him a little later on. But I think he was such a interesting and great character by the end. And a character that for the most part has a lot of heart, and he's a little bit different than the rest of his family in a sense. So I really did enjoy Liam. Next up would be who? Carl. Carl is a character that I've struggled with. The first 6 seasons, he's kind of, I mean, as a child, you look at him and you go, you are going to be a person that ends up in prison, starts fires, just serial killer. He's a psycho. And then he went to prison, became like that drug dealer, and all that bit I could not stand. He was annoying. So annoying when he was doing that stuff. And towards the end here, he became a cop and just wanted to give back to the South Side and the poor people and take away from the rich who stomp on the little guys. And I loved that. I ended up loving Carl by the end of the show. I really did. He became such a great character in my book. And again, we'll talk more about him a little bit later on, but I really loved Carl by the end of this. Next up, who do we have? We have Debbie. Debbie is a character the first 6 seasons I absolutely loved. She had a heart of gold. She cared about her father, even though her father's an awful human being. And she had such heart. This is a character that they completely screwed over. The writers screwed her the hell over. I mean, just starting from her wanting to have a child and raping a guy to get a child. And then just everything that she does. Stealing the money that Fiona gave them, keeping it and to go buy clothes and then return them. Beating up of people, what she does with relationships, the taking advantage of people with her company. Just Debbie is a character that I absolutely hate and cannot stand what a horrible character she became. And I just do not understand how she went from the child that she was in the first 6 seasons to what she became. I absolutely hate her as a character. Just could not stand her. Just a terrible character. Awful. Cannot stand her. Next up would be Ian. Ian as a character was another one I loved from the beginning. He was kind of gone for a while when he went to the military. Then he came back, was liking him again. Then all this gay Jesus stuff happened. He went to prison, started hating him again. Then he got out, and the relationship between he and Mickey happened more and really finally stayed put. It seems like a very toxic relationship in a sense, but both of them are kind of toxic and have had such terrible childhoods that when they come together, it kind of works. And I loved their relationship. I think out of all the relationships, that might have been the best one. Honest to God. I think that was something that just really worked for me. So overall, Ian was kind of a hit or miss for me, but by the end, I really appreciated Ian as a character, and I appreciated the relationship with Mickey as well. And I think Mickey is a great character too. Again, you see what his childhood was like, and you understand why he is the way he is, and why like Ian kind of completes him and is helping him to become a good person in a sense. So I love that relationship. Ian was a good character for me. After that, we have Lip. Lip is a character that, for the most part, stayed the same for me. I really liked his character throughout the entire show. He is constantly making these terrible decisions. He's not communicating with people. His alcoholism, just all those things. He was constantly a character that went, Lip, why? And that did bug me, but it just worked with his character. I really enjoyed his character. Something that bugged me about, I feel like the writers kind of did a disservice to Lip as well, though, because the first 6 seasons, he's taken SATs for people. He's so smart. And in the last few seasons, there's nothing to show that he's really that smart anymore, besides the fact that he's like a handyman. And in the final episode, he's fixing something for the guy with the stocks or whatever. I mean, he's not that smart of a character by the end. So his character was a little all over the place for me. But he was a character that I really enjoyed. By the end, I just didn't like how much he became an idiot. That aspect of it just did not work for me. Tammy, as a character that he kind of ends up with by the end, is a girl that I accept her. Out of all the girls he's been with, she's the best, I guess. I will say they need to work on communication skills. Good golly almighty. Just terrible communication skills. Actually, all Gallaghers just need to work on their communication skills. Next up, let's go with, let's go with the one who's not in this poster here, Fiona. I just loved Fiona's character, period. You could see Fiona as a character she did some horrible things. But at the same time, you could understand why she did some of these horrible things, considering that she has been so stressed out her entire life. She has done nothing for herself her entire life. She is just a mess. And I love the person Fiona became by the end of her time on the show. The fact that she became an entrepreneur in a sense. She's like, okay, I'm going to manage Patsy's. I am going to open my own, I'm going to buy a laundromat. I'm going to open the laundromat. I'm going to become an apartment owner. Just all the things she does. She is hard work ethic. She works her butt off. She is still that caring, loving human being, even though she says the wrong things at times and does the wrong things at times. I loved Fiona's character, and I think her send-off was kind of perfect. That scene where she went and visited Ian in the prison, and Ian's just like, go. What are you still doing here? Go. Like, you have done nothing for yourself your entire life. Do it. Everyone will be fine. Everyone will figure out a way. Everyone has started growing up. We're all to the point where we're getting to be adults. We're all going to take care of each other. Go. I loved that. And the final scene that she has with the little girl on the plane and saying, you know, this is my first time on a plane too. It so worked for me. It was just something I really related to. Fiona as a character was someone I just absolutely related to. I struggle to do things for myself. And it really hit hard because at the timing that I watched that scene, I believe was like the week it would have been a little bit before I went to South Carolina to find a job and a place to live. So it really connected with me in that sense that I did get on a plane for the first time. And I think we are back, guys. I don't know what happened there. Something weird happened. So yeah, guys, I was talking about Fiona and the fact I was connecting to the fact that I'm moving to South Carolina and finally doing something for myself, something I've struggled to do my entire life as well. So yeah, I loved Fiona. She was my favorite character in the entire show. Let's move on now to V and Kevin. A couple that I really loved from the beginning. When they started becoming a throuple with Svetlana, however you say her name, that's when the show lost me with them a bit. After they ended that, it got better again. And I love that by the end of the show, they're moving to Kentucky. And again, they're doing stuff for themselves. After Fiona left, though, in the last 2 seasons, it kind of felt like they were not of importance anymore, almost. The Gallaghers went to them when needed and such, but like it felt like there was nothing really with them anymore. And that was something that was unfortunate. But for the most part, I liked Kevin and V. I thought they were both really great characters. I love how much of a team they are, and I just think they're such... Kevin had some of the best lines in the entire show. Lines that I would literally rewind and just rewatch a few more times because I was just laughing so hard. So for the most part, a really enjoyable couple, and I loved seeing them. Finally, let's talk about Frank. Frank is a character I struggled with the entire time. He had a lot of great comedic moments, though, too. His arc is kind of the same throughout the show, and, he never changes. So there's not much to say about him. He's just kind of the same until we get to the final episode, which we'll go into that. So yeah, guys, that's kind of me just talking through the last 6 seasons, essentially. Let's talk about that last episode, because boy, was that a terrible last episode. Again, I'm just going to go through all the characters here. Liam. Liam, if the house... The thing that bugged me most about this is there's no closure in anything. Throughout that final season, the house is getting sold, or maybe it's not. So there is a conversation between Lip and Ian where Lip says, hey, this guy wants to buy the house for 70 grand. We could all get 15 each. What do you think? And Ian goes, well, I'll do whatever you want. But we don't actually get a firm decision. Is the house being sold or is it not? So if the house is getting sold, Liam's going to go live with Lip and Tammy, possibly, because we never actually saw a conversation between Lip and Tammy happen. Lip just said, oh yeah, you're going to come live with me. But he's barely taking care of his own family. His gal and his son is living at Tammy's parents', Tammy's dad's. And yes, there's that conversation where Tammy goes, well, we'll come live with the Gallaghers. Which, she was all over the place, Tammy was, because she did not want, there was specific conversations like, we're not going to the Gallaghers. We have no space to ourselves, nothing. So I don't know where Liam's fate is, and that bugs the crap out of me. Moving on next to, who is it? Carl. Carl's going to continue being a cop. No matter if that house is sold or not, I really do feel like he is going to move out and find his own place. He already moved down to the basement. I think he is saving up money, and he is going to go find his own place. That one for me is, out of all of them, that's the one where there is, oh, that's not true actually. There is some questions and not closure, because his last gal pal that kind of raped him in a sense, she's preggo. And he asks if she's preggo, or if it's his, and she doesn't answer. Is Carl having a baby? Is he not having a baby? What's going on with that? Like, what was that? Why did we need that? What was the point of that? There's Carl for you. Debbie. What was with this random girl just all of a sudden coming out of prison, and Debbie's like in love with this girl she just met now and is possibly moving to New Mexico? Even the entirety of this final season is Debbie going, no, we're not selling this house. This is our home. What? Where did that come from? It felt like they were going to make another season and they just didn't. And they said, never mind. We're only supposed to make 11. We're going to just put this down into 1 episode, 2 episodes. And again, Debbie's character was just the worst character by the end of it for me. They didn't care about her by the end, I think, is what happened. I don't know. Next up then, Ian. Ian and Mickey moved to the west side. That's awesome. They're growing. They're moving on. What was with this weird random baby talk by the end of it? Never was this mentioned. And now all of a sudden, baby. I don't know. I don't know. I guess out of all the character arcs, his might be the one with least amount of questions. So he wants to have a baby. Okay. It was never discussed, but he has hopes of actually starting a family. Cool. He's the only one of the family that's married. So it's not too much of a stretch in that sense. Mickey's worried about being a dad. That's not a surprise. He should be worried about being considering where he comes from, he would be scared of being a dad. So that one worked for me. Next up, you have Liv. Like I said, did he sell the house? Is Tammy pregnant again? Like, we never got an answer to that. Are they going to get rid of the baby? Are they going to have the baby? They can barely take care of the baby they have. What is going on with that? Again, he did not have this conversation with Tammy about Liam living with them. Where's that go? Just so many questions there. After that, we have, who do we have? Fiona. Fiona, we got some kind of closure in the sense that she's off somewhere happy. We don't necessarily know. I kind of would have liked to, it kind of bugs me that she's not mentioned more throughout this final season. They're going to sell this house. Yes, she has decided she wants nothing to do with this house anymore. She wants to move on. So that makes sense in a sense, but still, there's no even talk. Even if you didn't bring Emmy back into the show because she didn't want to be back in the show. It seemed, from what I've heard behind the scenes, she wasn't getting paid enough. And she was probably the best performance in the entire show. So the fact that, if she didn't want to come back, fine. There should have been some mention of her. There should have been something. And it's like she's dead. With Frank's final suicide letter, too. She's not even mentioned in that letter. It makes no sense why everyone else is mentioned, including Kevin and Veronica, but not Fiona. What the hell? That just seemed really weird to me. Again, it seemed like the writers just hated her and just like, screw you. Moving on from Fiona, we're going to go to Kevin and Veronica. They're moving possibly down to Kentucky. But at the same time, there was kind of like some hesitation there. Did they actually move down there? Selling the bar, it seemed like they possibly weren't going to sell the bar, but then there was that little line with Carl making it a cop bar. Is he getting the bar? Is Kevin and Veronica keeping the bar? What's going on with that? So confused with that. And then finally, let's go with Frank here. Frank, again, has been the same throughout every season. He's just drunk, drug addict, constantly trying to get money. That's it. However, that final episode, the episode before, I thought he really was dead. I thought the opening of the next episode would be him dying and then, not mourning necessarily, but dealing with that loss and then selling the house is what I thought that final episode was going to be. Nope. Frank is back from the dead. He never was dead, but he didn't overdose necessarily. He came back out of his little coma, woke up, went to a church. The church brought him to a hospital, and he dies of COVID. What? And then the whole floating through the bar and out in the streets and over the city of Chicago. What? I cannot believe that is the final episode. I just am shocked by just no closure for this show. This show, honestly, is one of my favorite shows of all time now. For me, this show is going to... I'm going to make up my own ending to the show in a sense. I'm not going to watch that last episode ever again, I don't think. It's going to be more about... For me, they sell the house. They're going to sell the house. Liam's going to go live with Lip and Tammy. The last episode, in my brain... Lip is going to talk to Tammy. There's going to be confliction of that because he didn't talk to her about it. He just invited Liam on over. They're going to get over that, and because she's going to realize how great of a kid Liam is, he's going to be the big brother or uncle to Freddie. That's where it ends for me there. Carl, police officer, like I said, he's going to save up money. He's going to go to his own apartment, his own place to live. Debbie, I don't know. For me, Debbie is not going to be with that one gal. She is going to realize that she doesn't need someone to complete her, that she just needs Franny, the one person in her life that she needs to take care of, and herself. Like, that's it for Debbie, but I don't know what you do with Debbie after everything these last few seasons did with her. I just don't know. Ian, Mickey, they did it. They moved to the West Side. They're a couple. They're happy for the most part. Yes, there's friction. Maybe they're going to have kids. Ian definitely wants one. I'm sure they're going to have a kid. Great. Lip, he and Tammy, I don't know. Are they going to get married? Sure, maybe. Did they have that second baby? I don't know. I'm going to say maybe she has a miscarriage or something, and they instead kind of just adopt Liam. Works for me. Fiona, I'm glad I'm glad her ending. I don't need to say any more about that. Kevin and V, I hope they do move down to Kentucky, and I hope that they go to live happy lives. And, Chicago is part of them always, but not where they're going to be living. Frank, I just wanted him to die at the end of that episode overdosing. Like, good enough. Have him commit suicide. That's a better death than COVID in a hospital. That was just stupid. And yeah, guys, what a terrible ending to the show. What a terrible ending to the show. I'm so speechless by what I saw this morning with the end of, or last night with the end of that episode, end of the show. I will say I liked that the ending was very much the beginning. The first episode, they're around that fire, just talking, hanging out, laughing. The end of the show is them hanging out around the fire, talking, hanging out. That worked for me. I just don't like that I got no completion of anyone's arc. Just nothing. This show ended with nothing, and it sucks. Because I was absolutely loving the show. I was so addicted for a while, and it left a little bit of a hole in my heart. But you know what? It's all right. The show overall was solid. I'll give this show like an 8 out of 10. That ending had been better. If they'd done better with Debbie. Debbie is what really killed me. How they just screwed her over. I don't know if the actress was a turd in real life or what. I don't know. But it is what it is. And I believe that's the last thing I have to talk about today. And the final thing I have to talk about as far as watching things for the rest of the year. So thank you so much, guys, for being on this journey with me week to week, watching movies. Please like, share, subscribe. I'm trying to get to 80 by the end of the day, so please help me out there. I'll have one more video coming up just a little bit here by the end of the day, probably. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed our time together just talking movies. I know I've enjoyed talking to people that I don't know and can't see faces for and just talking movies. I'm so excited for what 2023 is about to bring us as far as movie go and my personal life. So, yeah, guys, I hope you guys have a great New Year's. If you're anywhere near the Bloomer, Wisconsin area, please stop by Back 40 and I'll be bartending night and we will go till the early hours partying like rock stars. So, yeah, guys, I hope you guys have yourself a great New Year's. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye.